I installed spyware on my wife's computer, followed her to a hotel, and exposed her affair with not one, but two coworkers. I, 32M, have been married to my wife Jenny, 30F, for 5 years. We met in college and started dating soon after. Things moved quickly and we got engaged after 2 years, and married a year later. Overall, our marriage has been good. We rarely fight, we share chores around the house, and we make time for date nights every week. We decided early on that we didn't want kids, so it has just been the two of us, and our dog Rufus. A few months ago, I started noticing some odd behavior from Jenny. She would be texting a lot more frequently, and angling her phone away from me. She also started staying up late at night on her computer after I went to bed. When I would come into the office, she would quickly switch tabs or close windows like she didn't want me to see. One night, I decided to do some snooping. After Jenny fell asleep, I went onto her computer and started looking through her browser history and chat logs. I found that she had been visiting dating sites and chat rooms a lot. And in her Slack conversations, she was frequently chatting with a guy named Brian that she worked with. Their messages were very flirty and crossed the line from professional to inappropriate in my opinion. This made me very suspicious about what else Jenny might be hiding. The next day, I ordered some spyware online that could log keystrokes and capture screenshots. I felt guilty about invading Jenny's privacy, but I had to know if she was cheating or not. Later that week when Jenny was out, I quickly installed the spyware on her laptop. It began silently recording her digital activity. A few days later when Jenny was in the shower, I checked the spyware logs. What I found made me sick to my stomach. Jenny had continued flirting heavily with Brian over Slack. The conversations had gotten more suggestive too, with wink emojis and compliments about each other's appearances. Brian also sent her his personal cell number so they could text directly. In the text logs, I saw the full extent of their relationship. They had been sexting frequently, sending each other nude photos and describing sexual acts they wanted to do together. Jenny seemed very into it, telling Brian how attractive he was and how dissatisfied she felt in our marriage. Reading those words from my wife felt like a punch to the gut. There were also plans being made to meet up in person when they could sneak away from work and me. They talked about getting a hotel room and finally acting on all their fantasies. I felt so betrayed to see my wife of 5 years planning to physically cheat on me with this coworker. Now I'm left wondering what to do next. Part of me wants to confront Jenny and show her all the evidence I have collected with the spyware. But I also hesitate to admit I installed those programs on her device, since that is a breach of trust as well. I keep going back and forth on whether this is something that could be worked on in counseling, or if it is time to contact a divorce lawyer. I'm very hurt by Jenny's actions but also angry at myself for snooping on her privacy, although she did break my trust first. I decided to hold off on confronting Jenny immediately. As painful as it is, I want to be 100% certain about the extent of her betrayal before putting our marriage on the line. So, I continued monitoring her digital activity through the spyware on her laptop. Over the next couple weeks, things only got worse. Jenny and Brian talk almost constantly, both sexually and just chatting about normal life stuff. It is clear they have moved beyond a physical affair and are cultivating real emotional intimacy. My wife now shares details about our marriage, complaining about me not helping around the house enough or not being attentive to her needs. Hearing her vent about me to her lover feels like the ultimate knife in the back. Through the keylogger, I also saw Jenny plan 2 more secret meetups with Brian over the next 10 days when I was occupied with work. Each time, I checked the text logs afterward and felt sick reading descriptions of their sexual encounters in hotels. Jenny even joked with him, "You are so much better at this than my husband," and said she wished they had started the affair years ago. Watching my wife constantly betray and demean me behind my back is very painful. But as much anguish as the spyware has revealed, I feel I still don't have enough evidence of the full scope of this affair to confront Jenny effectively. Since she has lied to my face and gone to great lengths to hide this from me, I worry she will gaslight me or deny it all if I don't have an irrefutable amount of proof. So, I have made the difficult decision to bide my time a little longer and continue gathering intel on the affair. Just yesterday, I saw Jenny message Brian asking when they could meet again for a rendezvous. He suggested a specific hotel this upcoming weekend when I am away on a business trip. It absolutely disgusted me realizing my work travel would directly enable Jenny's unfaithfulness. But I plan to use this opportunity to acquire the final smoking gun. I will surprise Jenny by returning home early from my trip and catch her red-handed at the hotel with Brian. I cannot imagine how traumatic that experience will be, but the element of shock and having evidence directly in front of her face may prevent Jenny from trying to lie her way out of this. These past few weeks have been the most agonizing of my life. The woman I have loved for nearly half a decade and trusted completely has utterly betrayed me. I feel like my entire marriage has been a sham, with my wife secretly living a sordid double life behind my back. I do not recognize this version of Jenny at all. She has become a dishonest stranger to me. Once I have foiled their hotel rendezvous, I do plan to immediately meet with a divorce lawyer while ejecting Jenny from our home. I cannot think about any sort of counseling or reconciliation after such a profound, intentional violation. As painful as starting over will be, I refuse to remain married to someone capable of looking me in the eyes every day and lying about carrying on an affair. I am bracing myself emotionally for this traumatic confrontation when I return from my trip early and catch them together. Although nothing can fully prepare someone for exposing such despicable deception from a spouse, I will make sure to have backups of all the spyware evidence in case Jenny still attempts to deny or downplay the affair. As planned, I was to come home early from my business trip to catch my cheating wife Jenny red-handed when I knew she was meeting up with her affair partner Brian at a hotel. I was fully prepared to walk in on them together and have irrefutable proof of the physical affair. But at the last second, my plan was thwarted due to work. The morning I was supposed to return early, my boss told me that I will have to stay for one more day. Jenny had told Brian that I would be out of town until Sunday, so they should definitely meet at the hotel on Saturday. I, on the other hand, had no choice but to stick with my original return travel plans. I came home Sunday night as expected, with Jenny pretending everything was normal between us. She cooked me dinner and cuddled in bed, continuing to live a complete lie. I realized I was back at square one in terms of catching Jenny in the act. But the benefit was that she still had no idea I was onto her secret affair. I could thus continue gathering intel through the spyware without arousing suspicion. Over the next week, things between Jenny and Brian quickly ramped up again. I watched them flirtatiously discuss options for days they could take off work and times I was scheduled to be out of town. Finally, they settled on a plan to meet this coming Friday afternoon at a different hotel across town from the first one. I saw Jenny tell Brian she would book the room in advance to ensure secrecy and discretion. Reading their lewd messages eagerly anticipating their next chance to betray me was utterly heartbreaking. But at the same time, I realized this was the opportunity I needed to definitively expose their affair. Since I clearly cannot rely on catching them spontaneously, I decided to take a more proactive approach. Rather than confronting them directly at the hotel, I plan to discreetly follow Jenny on Friday once she leaves work. I will watch what hotel she checks into with Brian. Once I confirm they have arrived together and almost certainly are about to get intimate, I will text Jenny that I am at the front desk asking to be led into her specific room. Hopefully them believing I am right outside the door will create panic and chaos between the cheaters. Especially since Jenny reserved the room herself, there will be no way to explain away her presence there with another man. She will be forced to let me inside, where I can dump irrefutable photo evidence of their affair caught in progress. There will be no talking her way out of this. I cannot wait to finally expose Jenny's appalling lies and betrayals. She has been a completely different person from the woman I believed I married. After this prolonged nightmare, I am ready to close this agonizing chapter for good. On Friday, I watched Jenny leave work early and head to a hotel clear across town from her office. She had told Brian she booked them a room for the afternoon. I waited about 30 minutes before asking the front desk what room was under her name, pretending that I thought I was meeting my wife there. With the room number in hand, I took the elevator up and approached quietly. My heart was pounding out of my chest, terrified of what I was about to witness. As I reached the door, I paused to collect myself and then unlocked it with the key card I had sweet-talked out of the front desk clerk. The sight that greeted me as I walked in is forever seared into my brain. There on the bed was my wife Jenny naked with not just her coworker Brian, but a second man I recognized as Steve from her job. The three of them scrambled to cover up once I entered, but it was too late. I was speechless, seeing proof of such deceit with my own eyes. My wife having sex with another man was already unforgivable. But finding out she was sleeping with two coworkers destroyed any shred of hope I had of saving our marriage. Jenny began sobbing and trying to explain it away as just this one time. But I cut her off saying I knew about her affair for months from spyware on her computer. I told her not to insult me further with more lies. Jenny's lip quivered as I laid out all the evidence I had gathered, emails, texts, nude photos. Brian and Steve got dressed quickly and left, not saying a word. They knew there was nothing that could excuse their behavior. Once they were gone, I calmly told Jenny our marriage was over and I would be filing for divorce ASAP. Jenny desperately pleaded with me not to end things and claimed she made a mistake. But I stood firm and said I could never trust her again after such a profound betrayal. I had already lined up a divorce attorney, who I would be calling immediately. I told Jenny to gather her things and leave our shared home, as I would have an officer escort her if needed. She begged for another chance, but my mind was made up. She slowly collected a few suitcases while crying uncontrollably. It was agonizing to watch, but after what she did, I felt no sympathy. Once Jenny departed our once happy home, the finality of everything hit me. I broke down in tears, mourning the death of our marriage and the partner I thought I knew. But deep down I knew ending it was the only option. I could never rebuild trust after Jenny's secret affair with colleagues, lies about work trips, and group sex in hotels. I have since spoken to my lawyer and begun the process of divorce proceedings. I know the road ahead is long and painful. But at least the truth is out in the open. I can officially close the door on a sham marriage to an unfaithful, dishonest woman. Eventually I will be able to pick up the pieces and move on as a single man again. Jenny's colleagues will surely also face consequences once word of this gets out. As for Jenny herself, any sympathy or goodwill I had for her is gone. She will now have to live with the